welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and today we are going through episode or sector number 468 as we have the return of the Almighty, who is filling in last minute. We'll go into that in a second, but the Palpa Kelly, please, thank you for coming on and filling in for Bobby.
Absolutely. You guys were just strolling through my sector, so I was like, why not? Here I am.
Well, I was waiting in the sector, and Bobby never showed up, and then I got hit by some debris, some space debris, and I got launched into a fucking wormhole. I ended up somewhere else, and then thankfully you were there to help rescue it. Otherwise, there'd be no sector episode this week. So thank you, Palpa Kelly, for joining this week.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
Kicking off this week's news with video games as Capcom achieved record profits and net sales in its first quarter, and this is according to a new financial report from the company itself.
The fiscal report is for the first 3 months, which ended June 30th, 2021, pointing out the launch of Resident Evil Village back in May, as well as continued sales of titles like Monster Hunter Rise.
The company actually more than doubled its net sales of $440.7 million, which is a 104% year-over-year increase, and a profit of $157.5 million, which is a 121% year-over-year increase for Capcom.
That is insane. Did they just not release anything last year?
I don't know if it's a combination of the pandemic, if it is people buying video games like crazy last year. It's also a theme that I've noticed in not just comics, but now apparently gaming, in which horror really did take off for whatever reason over the last couple of months. The interest in the horror genre has really taken more than just your regular fan base. The indie comic books, the horror ones, do really well now, and I'm not too sure why. Maybe it's that we're getting into the season of the fall in October, or
the spooky season.
Yeah, it could be. Or the genres always switch. One for a decade it's superheroes, maybe for the next decade it's going to be slasher movies and horror monsters and more Dead Space games. Who knows?
All the Dead Space games. I'm sure you've talked about it, but I am so excited. Not that we have time to play this, right? But I'm just excited that other people will get to enjoy.
Well, you're talking about Dead Space?
Yes.
The remake, yeah.
Yes. It's going to be so good. Just Isaac Newton, like, pew, pew.
So what was the story originally? I was thinking about this in the car, and you'll probably remember better than I do, but when he was trying to find Nicole, was she stuck on the ship and he was trying to go back and find her? And because I know there was like a video that
she sent him like a message and was like, all this crazy shit's going down, but just know that I love you. So he's like, I'm gonna go get my woman, and then he goes to get her. And I don't think it's spoiler, like if you haven't played the game at this point, it's been out for forever.
Exactly.
But from the very first second in the game, if you read the first letter of every chapter, it spells out Nicole is dead. So she gets turned into a necromorph.
And you don't know if maybe you killed her at some point when you were fighting the necromorph.
Right. You have no idea.
And then at the end, he sees the video, right, of her turning or getting infected or them coming in.
Something like that. Yeah, so that he knows that she's dead. And then at the very end, he takes off the helmet as old man Isaac. And you're like, oh, you were just like this. I mean, now the age that I'm at, I'm like, oh, he's not that old. But back when we played it, I was like, this is just this old man going around with his box cutter.
And in the sequel, he was haunted by the memories of Nicole because he was also getting infected in some form by the necromorphs. And then he comes to peace, right, with her death in the second one, from what I remember?
The second one was a lot. It was very confusing, and they infused more lore in there and all of those kind of things. But I feel like whatever controlled the virus, controlled the necromorph something, put off radiation of some sort that was making him go crazy, and he was hallucinating and seeing her a lot and had all this guilt over her death, even though it's not his fault, right? But I guess he did probably decapitate her at some point, so he was probably thinking about that. So yes, he did start to go crazy and did come to peace with it, because it turned into like a religious thing too, right? I felt like there was some religion tied in there.
I know Resident Evil 4 did, but it wouldn't shock me. You know, there'd be a section of people that would worship it as the new, like the angels reincarnate. Something would come out of it.
Great set of games, though, if you haven't played them and you're into all this horror that's coming back. But great on Capcom. I'm really glad that they saw this big resurgence. I'm truly amazed because I figured last year would have been the year, right, with all the quarantine where people would have been buying up all these things. But to show such a big bounce back, and we're seeing that, like you said, in so many other companies in different ways, too, that it's just really reassuring that things are kind of getting back to the way they were.
I'm still waiting for them because I'm all over the place in my industry, and I think everyone is as well. But something else that's getting a huge update this past week, new Pokemon Snap has added 3 new areas with a total of 20 new Pokemon in free content updates. I would have charged if I were them. I don't know why they sent this out for free, but that shit should have been $10.
What a time to be alive. I would have paid the $10.
Oh,
Shit,
exactly
man.
Right.
I'm buying all these Pokemon snacks that I don't even need and spending money on them. But I love that they're doing this for free. Yes, they could have charged. They easily could have charged. But what you're going to do is do this one for free and get people to be like, oh, man, this is really great. And now they're going to buy the next few ones that they do. Because this is not the end.
No.
This is such an easy thing to continue to add on to forever. I'm going to shut down our Switch with all the updates and uploads of this game and just fill it all up.
This new update is going to add fan favorite Pokemon. That's what they're calling them, but I guess every Pokemon is someone's favorite, including Psyduck, Snorlax. I can agree with that one. Feraligatr, same. Gyarados, sure. Rockruff, I don't know about that one. All of which were missing from the initial maps in the game.
There will also be 3 new areas, including a secret side path in the Florio Nature Park, the Might-Wide River. I was going to say Midnight River. I'm like, where was that? I don't remember.
These are all original areas. They weren't in the game from what I know.
Well, Florio Nature Park was.
Okay, so I thought you were on an island that was new and it wasn't in any of the games. Is that not the case in this one?
Well, it looks like these other 2. So Might-Wide River and Barren Badlands both look like they're brand new from the new Pokemon Snap.
Okay.
But new Pokemon Snap did have the Florio Nature Park. That's the one where who was running around? The Bouffalant?
Mm-hmm.
You've watched me play it. The Bouffalant were running around, and the Bidoofs and the Pidgeots.
Right. What's your favorite area in that game to play?
Ooh, this is a tough one. I've really started to enjoy the underwater areas because I found all the secret ways where like spooky Pokemon are just like jumping out of the dark, like, bah, and you got to snap their picture real fast. I really like the ice level. I haven't played that one enough. Maybe the jungle level, because every time I play it, I discover something new. So that's where Venusaur is, just like chilling. And he only ever shows me his butt. And I'm like, can you turn around, Venusaur? It's really like there's something that I enjoy in every single level. And I know we did a big in-depth thing about it many episodes ago. But even the fact that it just changes every single time you play it. Now they're adding. And I love the fact that, okay, here's 2 new levels and a new side mission in this other one. So it feels like that world is expanding even more.
A data mine had previously already spoiled this particular update. People dug up the core files that contained room for additional Pokemon that will probably be added later in future updates. Whether or not that content's going to be free or not is yet to be known, but I will tell the Pokemon company you guys should charge $10, $15 per update because people will pay that money. You just heard it with Palpa right here. She will pay the $10 for 3 new maps and 20 new Pokemon.
Hell yeah, I would. You could even say a new map and a Pikachu, and I'd be like, $10. Here we go.
How much?
But I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that they left room to expand. And in the environment that we're in right now, and the way that internet and gaming and all the digitalness that we have, it's any game you can add on to. We've seen it for years, and where the characters are in the game and you just get the code to unlock them. Like, that's just the reality of it. So I'm not surprised. I know they're going to continue forward with this. They're going to see the downloads, right? How successful is this? Okay, where's the ceiling to charge moving forward? Soon we're going to go into space.
Just like in the 64 one, when you go after Mew.
Yeah, well, you're just up in the clouds. You're not really up in space. But yeah, we can go to space. There's some star Pokemon that come from space at one point. I don't even know what they're called, but they come from space.
Well, they're the Clefairy are moon Pokemon, right?
Oh, yeah, we could just go to the moon and find some Clefairy.
Those are aliens
up
right there.
Yeah.
Over to the comic book side, DC is relying on our other co-host, Julian, who has been on usually once a month, just like the rest of the rotation. They are going with Walmart. once again, they're betting on younger readers actually this time instead of trying to do a compilation, and it ended up being a collectible thing with eBayers running in and buying them. But this is all in an effort from DC. They're calling this, quote, My First Comics, end quote, and it's a program that they're launching.
This, I think, is, I don't know, a really cool idea, and we can get your thoughts after we, talk about it a little bit more. But in addition to stories featuring DC and Warner Brothers characters, each 48-page flip book will also include kids-geared activity pages, including mazes and puzzles. Kid shit.
Kid shit. 2 volumes will launch the program. Batman, featuring DC's most popular character, and Space Jam, a new legacy tying into Warner Brothers' recent animation, live-action, hybrid sequel. So I think, I don't know about the Space Jam one, but of course, Batman is their most popular character. That one will do very well.
And the Batman one will feature reprinted stories from the comic run of Batman Adventures by Ty Templeton. What better kids' stories to pick?
I do hope this does well with kids. I don't want it to be another collectible speculator flip book thing. I do want it to literally be aimed at kids, and I hope that the price point is also there. But I know with the way that they ran this before through Target and Walmart, and Bobby has spoken about this in the past, they hire these third-party vendors to come in. The employees are not supposed to touch those areas. Even if they're all messed up, they can't fix them because it's not their vendor. It's different vendors that come in. They're the ones who fix it. They're the ones who replace and restock, and that's because that's what they're paid to do. And because of that, those areas are never too well kept. Product goes missing, all that stuff. So I hope it goes better this time, and I really do legitimately hope that kids latch onto them and that there's enough of these to satisfy the demand, because I know there will be regular comic buyers that'll probably go out and try to get these too.
Well, for sure, but it's going to depend on how many they print, how well and successful they really want this to be. I think it's a great idea. I think any way that we can inspire children to read is awesome, and we're so fortunate. Leo loves reading books with us, but as he gets older, right, how can we encourage him to keep having that love and reading? And of course, read Batman. So I think doing Space Jam: A New Legacy, awesome, right? It really ties into what kids are probably seeing right now in the forefront.
I guess. Fortnite would have been smarter.
I mean, okay. But of course, Batman. You have to have Batman. That's absolutely brilliant. But, I mean, just great marketing, right? But I would love to see them continue something like this. So maybe even use this as a test and say, okay, well, 1, how many kids actually picked it up? But 2, how successful was it for them? And then do something within comic shops, or additionally, not just within just 500 Walmarts.
More news from DC this week. In case you've been following along for the last year, I want to say Jim Lee's final 60th sketch to help comic shops through the Bink Foundation went up and sold last week. The final one. I knew this wouldn't be, because remember he was doing one every week or something like that, or every day. I don't remember what the rate was. I'm like, he's not going to finish this by the end of the year. It's Jim Lee. And sure enough, when this story went up, I'm like, oh, he actually finished?
He kept going? I thought he abandoned that months ago.
Right, along with All-Star Batman. Yeah, we're still waiting for those couple of issues.
So in a joint effort with DC, they helped raise over $800,000.
Amazing. Thank you, Jim Lee and the Bink Foundation. The 60th sketch ended up being Jason Todd, as seen in the Hush storyline, which he drew, and that one was written, I believe, by Jeff Loeb.
Did they make him look extra whiny?
He has like a little brown leather jacket, and he's got his mask on, and he's got that little white puff of hair when he got from the Lazarus Pit, I guess.
Is there a word bubble that says, you abandoned me?
There should be. If I won that piece, I'd be like, listen, Jim, can you please do a little whiteout and add a word bubble?
I'll pay even more. I just need that word bubble.
In case you, and believe it or not, at the beginning, like in the very first 7, I was like, I want to try to win one of these. And all of these ended up going for thousands upon thousands of dollars. And I'm like, all right, this is way out of my league. And Jim used to tag the winners on Instagram. And I would go to the winners pages just to see like if they put up the picture or whatever. And it'd be nothing but like watches and cars on their Instagram. I'm like, okay, these are like fucking millionaires that are winning these things. Literally art collectors or whatever you want to call them. But I'm like, all right, that's the kind of money that's going into these. And these are the kind of people that I'd be trying to outbid. And that's never going to happen. So instead, there are plans for people like me. If you want to see these sketches, they're going to compile all 60 sketches into an art book at some point in the future. And I'm sure the proceeds of that will either also go to the Bing Foundation or maybe to the Hero Initiative.
Also a great idea. Continue to earn that money. Continue to spread that money to the people who need it the most. Sorry you couldn't win one. We are not millionaires.
Yeah, I think the way he was doing it is if you won the sketch that he put up, then you would also choose the character that was next to be drawn. So that's how they continued it. And of course, there's plenty of Harley Quinns. And
of course.
I don't know if he did a punchline. I don't know if someone requested her, but I'd have to see if there was a Ra's al Ghul, because I think that's who I don't know who I'd pick. I really don't. Let's say you could pick someone. Would it be Jim Lee's Catwoman?
I mean, Catwoman would be a great one. I would probably be stupid and be like, can you do a Pikachu, Jim Lee?
You'd probably own the only Pikachu by Jim Lee.
I probably would. Could you pick anybody, or it had to be a DC character?
I think it had, because it's a collaboration with DC, so it would have to be a DC character.
Well, at this point, I guess that's Warner Brothers. I'd be like, can you do Bugs Bunny? And it wasn't Kobe Bryant.
Just really ruin the whole lineup of them.
Just make it horrible.
When they go through the compilation of 60 drawings, they're like, why is Bugs Bunny here?
But
Kobe
like,
Bryant?
But Bugs Bunny dressed as Batman.
Oh,
Like,
well, see, that
there we
would
go.
work.
Let's make it better.
They did do a Funko Pop line of them, so that could work. They did the crossovers where the Looney Tunes were wearing the costumes.
That's right. I don't know. I might do Lucifer, but I'd be like, but can it be the TV show?
Of course.
Can you do Tom Ellis?
He would have to do it, though, because that is a DC character. That's all DC properties.
All right, perfect. That's the one I want to win.
Last week we talked about this, and now that you're here and you're a big Lucifer fan,
I'm the biggest Lucifer fan.
And I'm sure you like Joe Henderson because he's one of the co-writers of the show, and he made this a pretty big success. He's also a comic writer. I think he did that Zero Gravity Skyward comic.
Yeah.
Remember that? He did that one too. He is in charge of the live action Netflix Pokemon show that they're going to release at some point in the future.
I'm ready for it.
I know their thinking was, here's a very successful Netflix show. Here is a white hot property. Let's take that guy that runs that really successful Netflix show and let's put him on this incredibly popular property.
Hell yeah.
Do you think that's a smart move, or do you think it'd be better to get people that actually like worked on Pokemon, or I don't know.
Well, you're sitting here thinking that he has no knowledge of Pokemon.
Well, okay. Do you think it's
what you're assuming?
Now we're trying to get him to what kind of show then are they expecting from Joe Henderson?
Well,
like a crime romance,
there's going to have to be a crossover with Lucifer. He's going to have to show up in there
Pokemon.
with his Pokemon. I am going to assume, because Skyward wasn't really a crime romance.
Right. There was some romance in it, though.
So I'm going to assume that they at least spoke to him and said, if we came to you with this project, what vision would you have for it? They're not just going to look at him and say, oh, well, you made Lucifer, so go ahead and make this. It's just like, I've never worked on Pokemon, but if they came to me and said, make a live action show, you better believe it'd be a pretty badass live action show. It'd be all Pikachu and Bulbasaur, but that's fine.
So you have faith in this property. You think it's going to do pretty well. You think it's in good hands, at the very least.
I am going to have faith until it doesn't do well. And then I'll be like, what the fuck were they thinking?
I was telling Julian last week that maybe it should follow like a researcher. I don't think it should be like a typical trainer trying to get all the badges type of story. I think it should try to take a different approach, kind of like Detective Pikachu did.
Yeah, I think the really cool thing to realize right now is a lot of the people who grew up on Pokemon, and yes, there's kids who really enjoy it, but talking Netflix live action show, a lot of the kids who grew up on Pokemon are now in their 30s. So how do you appeal to them? Because I'm going to be for real, Leo's going to watch whatever Pokemon. He doesn't care about the plot. He gives no shits about what's going on. He just wants to see the Pokemon fight. So I think it'd be cool even to follow like a young Oak, like getting with all the ladies and like doing his Oak thing. I don't know. I think that'd be cool.
Well, for the past 2 weeks, have we been really literally blind and not seen the obvious facts here? Like they said it's a live action Pokemon show. They didn't say it was not a Detective Pikachu show. And we know Joe Henderson, he just did the biggest detective show on Netflix right now. So is it probably going to be, should it just be Detective fucking Pikachu? Because we know Joe Henderson can fucking do those.
I potentially, sure. I don't know. Whatever it is, I think it's going to be great, and I'm excited for it, and I have faith in this person. Faith, talking about Lucifer, right? Faith in this person who did put together a really good show, and I did really like the plot of Skyward and the times that I was reading it and was very invested in that. And I really like Pokemon, so I'm going to trust that Netflix didn't just say, here's this thing you know nothing about, and he's going, Pokemans? What are these?
Here's how, Joe, if you're listening, this is how you get your Lucifer fans to come over to the Lucy fans to come over to Pokemon. You have Tom Ellis voice one of the Pokemon. Have him be Meowth. Have him be Detective Pikachu. Have him be Mewtwo. Have him be a regular cast member. All those women are going to want to fuck that Pikachu or Meowth. No. They're all going to turn into Scott. And you'll have this weird generation and spike of furries.
You stop. Why would you do that? Don't listen to him, Joe. Don't listen.
You want a success, this is what you do.
You get Tom Ellis to play one of the professors. He can play that shirtless professor. That's how you get them all. Not voicing a Pikachu. You get him to play that shirtless professor.
See, I come up with the ideas and you refine them. So if you want to have him be the professor, he can be the professor. All the furries went, man.
I just wanted Tom Ellis to be Meowth. Tom Ellis could be Giovanni. There you go. Done.
That'd be a good one, too.
Perfect. Yep. I'm about it. But Giovanni, who runs a nightclub and also runs hell.
There you go. We actually have some MCU news this week because it's not always just DC. Sometimes I like to throw in some MCU stuff.
Only when it's bad for the MCU.
Well, look, I didn't specify good or bad, but yes, it is bad for the MCU. Black Widow star Scarlett Johansson has filed a lawsuit over the film's release on Disney Plus.
Scarlett is claiming that since her pay for Black Widow was heavily based on box office performance, the Disney Plus release is actually cutting into her profits for the film.
In a statement to the Wall Street Journal, they said, quote, Disney intentionally, this is from her representative, quote, Disney intentionally induced Marvel's breach of the agreement without justification in order to prevent Miss Johansson from realizing the full benefit of her bargain with Marvel, end quote.
Sounds like some shady stuff right there.
Fucking Disney all over. At it again. Always trying to save some money here or there. Trying not to do. See, at the very least, as much as we don't like Warner Brothers and what they've been doing, they anticipated this shit when Chris Nolan and Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins were all coming up with these things of like, we're going to stop promoting these movies. You're not going to release them to theaters. What's going on? What about our bonus? They went in and I think they paid them $10 million each and said, okay, this is on top of whatever bonuses you may receive at the box office. So it made up for their bonus. Plus that's how you fucking do it. But it doesn't shock me that Disney didn't take those preemptive measures.
Disney did respond though, and they are just all beat up and hurt about this. They said, quote, there is no merit whatsoever to this filing. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Disney has fully complied with Miss Johansson's contract, and furthermore, the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with premiere access has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date, end quote.
So it sounds like they have no intention of trying to do right outside of the courtroom. The Hollywood Reporter editor Matt Belloni said, quote, I'm told Lord Feige is angry and embarrassed. That one kind of shocked me. He lobbied Disney against the day and date plan for Black Widow, preferring the big screen exclusivity and not wanting to upset his talent, end quote. I like this part of the story because at first, the MCU shills and the Disney fans are like, Scarlett, and I've heard it already in the store, Scarlett is angry and she's just greedy and what'd she expect and how come this and well, she doesn't have any more movies anyway, so screw her. They very quickly turned against Scarlett Johansson to defend the Great Mouse. But then when Lord Feige comes out and says they're told that Lord Feige is embarrassed and didn't like the way Disney handled it. Now they're in this fucking tap dance of like, well, I do like Lord Feige though, and well, maybe Disney should pay her. And like, I had one person in the shop say, well, she can come and get my money because I'm not. They paid for it on Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, that's what she's doing. You paid Disney Plus. So she is getting your money when Disney pays her. Right. Like I don't know why they thought that literally they were going to take more from customers. Like it was just weird the way they said that. And I'm like, no, she is going to get your money. Yes. She doesn't have to come and get it. She's getting it from
them. She's not going door to door to get the money. She's just going to the source.
Exactly. She's going to get that money. Good for her.
The thing that just baffles me about this entire thing is Disney's response talking about horrific and prolonged global effects of COVID-19. When have you ever cared about, like, don't lie. That was not why you released it on Disney Plus, which you happen to call out Disney Plus with Premier Access, like very clearly in there. So we all knew what you were talking about. That was not the reason you did it. You did it for the extra money. You did it to get it to more people so you could have more money. That is exactly why you released it on Disney Plus. Don't pretend it's, because of COVID, which is so tragic. Like, no, find me a piece of any part of your company where that's really your focus, because it's not.
And the reason we say this is we live in the Orlando area, and we are we have our finger on the pulse on what happens here at the parks in the company. We have a lot of friends that do work for Disney, so it's very easy to see how they are treating their employees and their parks and how the company is running and how little they really do care about the handling of. So it's a false statement, and I think it's because we're in Florida that we kind of hear even more from people that actually work from the company and from the local news stations that are very much in tune with what they're doing over at the parks and the resorts.
But Black Widow did make upwards of $218 million worldwide on opening weekend, with Disney proudly claiming another $60 million of that, which came from Disney Plus Premier Access.
Insane that people are paying $30 fucking to see this on Disney, any of their movies on Disney Plus. And this is what still fucking blows me away is that even if you were to say, and you and I talked about this when we were going over the Vudu stuff, the early access on Vudu, you pay $20 and then you own the movie or you'd rent it or whatever. And I was like, that's expensive that's just buying the fucking movie. I'll just wait till it releases and just fucking buy it. It's even worse on Disney Plus because you don't own the movie. It's only there and active while you have a Disney Plus subscription. If you drop your Disney Plus subscription, you lose all of those movies that you paid Premier Access for. So it literally is Premier Access. It's right there in the fucking title, but people just don't give a shit. And that's why it sucks, because now they're setting that example for other companies that are like, okay, so we can get away then with us also charging $30 for quote unquote Premier Access. I've had surveys from Warner Brothers hit my inbox asking about that Premier service. Like, have you used Disney Plus? And I'm like, no, and I don't want it, and I don't like it. I prefer theaters, etc. Like, I make my voice heard, and then at the end I put #restore the Snyderverse every time. So,
well, I've seen this pops up every time they release a movie through Premier Access. It blows up on my Facebook with people saying, "Don't do this, right? Good. Don't pay for this," because at some point they're going to say, "Okay, let's just give them the movie," right? Like HBO movie releases in theaters. A lot of them are releasing for 2 weeks on HBO for free. And they're saying by continuing to purchase this, you're telling them it's okay, and they're going to keep doing it. $60 million, that's a significant amount of money, and they're going, ho, ho, ho. Mickey's stuffing his pockets and saying, these suckers.
It's amazing. But good on Scarlett, and I heard that Gerard Butler also is suing, I think, Universal for something very similar over the bonuses not triggering, obviously, because of theatrical and companies not doing something to help compensate for that. And we know it's an unusual circumstance for everyone, including the companies, but that's why you adapt and you try to come up with a solution to keep your talent and people happy, because we hear rumors of people like Christopher Nolan no longer happy with Warner Brothers because of how Tenet was handled. And now there's supposedly talks between him and Netflix, and that's going to be another huge. They got Zack Snyder, and if they got Chris Nolan, they're just picking off all of this talent from these bigger companies and really becoming that a bigger juggernaut in the movie industry.
Let me ask you this. Chris Nolan's Pokemon, the live action show.
I'd almost watch any Pokemon. Like, if Taika Waititi directed it, I would not see it. Like, there's some people that I would absolutely not. But absolutely, yeah, Martin Scorsese's Pokemon, a 3-hour, 4-hour thing. Sure. Why wouldn't I? You got to come up with a challenging question.
All right. I would watch Guillermo del Toro's. That would be awesome.
Of course.
They'd be like wild, wacky monsters, like eating people.
It would be a ghost type of story. That'd be
hell yeah,
Gengars and all these.
It'd probably be like the story of Mimikyu.
That'd be a good one.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
by Guillermo.
I'm about it.
But loving the future for Netflix. It is my second favorite streaming service, right behind HBO Max. But because we are in August, we've got this month's What's New on Netflix, the August 2021 highlights.
This is not the full list, just the highlights that we're really passionate about and that we want to share. You can go on Google and type in What's New on Netflix and find the full list there. But the first one is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
People used to talk about it all the time throughout school. It was one that I didn't have access to. I hadn't even heard about it until I got to probably like high school, junior high, and people would talk about it and reference it. I think they played it once in class when we got halfway through the movie because it was just for that 40-minute period or whatever. And it didn't blow me away. I don't know if I just have to go back and see it, but I know it's loved by so many people. I know it's got a post-credit scene that Deadpool lifted from that now I know and I didn't know before. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and check it out. I do like Matthew Broderick because of the Cable Guy and 1990s Godzilla, and I think he is legitimately a good actor, but I'll give it another shot. And if I don't like it this time for sure, then it's not for me.
I've never seen this movie. You don't really talk highly of it most of the time when you see it. So you watch it the second time, and if you like it the next time, then maybe I'll watch it.
Fair enough. Next one on this list is Hunter x Hunter Season 6. We watched the first 6 episodes, I think. This is the one with the kid in the green sports-like thing, and he has the long spiky hair, and they go into a tunnel, and there's a competition. And they were like trying to get to the end of the tunnel. You saw very little of it, but I lost interest in it. And I think they had some seasons on either HBO Max or Netflix. But I know a lot of people like that anime, so let it be known season 6 is hitting Netflix.
One of my favorite movies, Inception.
Very good movie. Christopher Nolan, of course, one of the greats.
A dream within a dream within a dream within a dream.
Was it all a dream at the very end too? Ooh, did the thing
let's
spin?
talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, check it out. If you like Tenet, check out Inception. It's it's not as complex as Tenet, but it is one that plays with your mind. It's got amazing, incredible special effects where Nolan wanted to build a set that would rotate so they can show the actors actually moving and falling throughout the rooms. So it's just incredible how he uses as little CGI as possible when he makes his movies.
Up next on the list, another great movie, The Lincoln Lawyer.
The one in which Matthew McConaughey, another great actor, but really this is the first one that we saw, and we're like, holy shit, he's a really good fucking actor.
Right?
There was another one that came on, it was on TV with Kate someone. It's a romance. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That's what it was.
Yeah. I've seen that.
And it was on there, and I was watching this because I knew that that's what he was known for, these romantic comedies. I'm like, okay, so was he really like bad back then? Like Family Guy always made it out to be, and I'm watching this. He is legitimately pretty good in those. Like it's not a deep writing. It's just really dumb. Like he gets into a fight with some guy in the theater because she makes him fight him or whatever, and he gets socked and he falls. So that's literally it, but he plays it really fucking well. Like there's scenes in which he's tearing up and stuff, and he has no business doing any of this, but he's fucking doing it. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's always been great. And now he's got like amazing movies.
He did this, Lincoln Lawyer. There was Mud, wasn't he in Mud? That was a great one. One I'd like to revisit because we saw it once in theaters and that was it, but I remember really liking it. And then of course, Magic Mike.
Yeah.
That's your favorite role he's ever been in.
The law says you can't touch this. No. I see a lot of lawbreakers out there.
He also had no business giving us that performance.
Yeah, that's true.
But he did because he cares about us.
My favorite movie with him is Not Arrival. It's another Chris Nolan movie. Interstellar. Holy shit. What a great fucking performance. What a great movie. That I think was one of my first 4K buys. I think it might have been my second one. And holy shit, it is incredible. I think it might be on HBO Max, but if it's not, go out there and buy it. Scott and I were at Target last week. It is on Blu-ray for $5 fucking. It is a crime.
That is.
Buy Interstellar, watch it. Just go straight into it if you haven't seen it. Also Arrival. I know I said Arrival, but Amy Adams, if you like Amy Adams,
that was a great movie.
You haven't seen that, fucking watch it. Another one on this list, by the way, Netflix is doing a Lincoln Lawyer show.
What?
But Matthew McConaughey is not in it.
Why?
So, yeah, that's where I was like, all right, fuck this. I guess they're based on books. So, there you go.
Okay.
The Machinist is also hitting Netflix. This is the one that Christian Bale did right before Batman Begins, in which he's incredibly thin. We know he's a method actor, so he has insomnia, I believe, and he ends up slowly losing his mind. And I haven't seen this one, but I only know it because I was following everything Batman back when Batman Begins was coming out and being made, and he showed up in that. And they're like, the guy from The Machinist, and I think it was Nolan that told him, you're going to have to like really bulk up for this. We start shooting in a couple of months, and he was thin, like from The Machinist. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And he bulked up like Nolan told him, you got to be big. And he took that as fat. So he got really fat. And then they came in and he's like, no, we're not shooting Fat Man. We're shooting Batman.
Why would he think you had to be fat for Batman? Okay.
And they're like, we start shooting in 2 weeks. And Christian Bale's like, no, it's fine. Don't worry. And they're like, he's not going to be ready. Shows up 2 weeks later and he's like, he loses all that fucking weight.
Oh my God. His poor body.
I know. Amazing, right? I think for that one where he was like bald and it came out recently, she's currently dating Darren Aronofsky. And she was Mystique in the new X-Men movies. Mm-hmm. She's in that movie. Christian Bale ended up taking on a lot of weight, and I think he fucked up his back, like some discs, because he kept sitting a certain way under all that weight for the character performance and walking a certain way. So that man's in it for the craft, that's for sure. Those method actors.
He's gonna retire early,
most likely, kind of like Daniel Day-Lewis. Another one hitting Netflix is Shaman King season 1. I know it's an older anime, but they're really getting the, I guess, classics.
Mm-hmm. I have heard the name, but I don't know anything about it. So if you're into it, I would love to hear. Send me a tweet.
They started reprinting all of the old manga in these omnibuses, and I think they're up to 3. So if you want to also catch the manga, and I'm glad that they did release the anime on Netflix, because if enough teens get into it, I'll sell the 3+ copies that I have of 1, 2, and 3, because someone decided to drop it off their sub, but we order months ahead of time, so now I have extra copies, but that's all right. It's manga. It's going to sell.
We also have Fast and Furious Spy Racers Season 5. What is this?
So I tried playing it for Leo the other day because I like Fast and the Furious. Right. I'm a fan. We've seen them all. But he wanted to watch dinosaurs. We watched a little bit of it, and he kept like crying for dinosaurs, but then catching what they were doing on the screen and being fascinated, and then going back to crying about dinosaurs. So they are like teen spies that do the shit that they do in the Fast and Furious movies, except without the killing.
Is it animated?
Yes, CG animated.
Okay. Are they teenagers like in Tokyo Drift? Like where they might be 40 years old or they might be like 17?
Yeah, it's like a kid's show for sure. Okay. They're like teenagers.
I would like to try this.
And there's like 5 or 6 of them, and they each have different colored shirts. That way you can kind of tell them, like the Fast and Furious Power Rangers, but they don't transform into stuff. But they got gadgets, and they climb on top of planes while they're in the middle of the air, and they suction onto them, and they've got rocket packs and shit.
This sounds like an amazing show.
It sounds like Fast and the Furious, right?
Why would he? Yes, they got to like grab onto bridges and like ropes and fly into space and things.
It's just not as impressive when it's CG. I mean, I know in Fast and Furious they're also CG. Like Vin Diesel isn't actually like swinging off, but you know what I mean. It just looks realistic when they do it on the movies. So, and Vin Diesel's a producer on this fucking thing.
Shit.
Fucking 5 seasons of it. Amazing.
Well, we need to just force him to watch it because I am done with dinosaur everything. I'm done. I don't need to watch anymore. So Fast and Furious it is. Sorry, kid.
I do like and appreciate that the newer dinosaur shows that Leo watches that are for kids have T-Rexes with feathers. So the science is catching up.
Dino Dana.
The shows are catching up, I guess, to Dino Dana does it.
Yes. Did you know Dino Dana is actually produced in Canada?
That doesn't shock me. Everything is produced there or in Georgia.
Well, it's like a Canadian show. Like it's all Canadian, which is really cool. But then it all clicked into place because the girl hurt her ankle and she's like, oh man, I need to go to the hospital. And they're like, let's just get you x-rays. And I'm like, oh man, that's so expensive. Like, wait, this is Canada. And then like her sister steps on her foot and she's like, oh, I think my foot's broken. And they're like, but we just stepped on it. And the dad's like, well, let's go get more x-rays. And I was like, okay, it's Canada.
Last highlight on this list this week is The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf. It is an animated feature. I believe it all ties into everything because the nice thing about The Witcher is they tell these different side stories, including in the comics, that don't necessarily have to ruin the show or the books or the games. They're just adventures of the Witcher as he continues his path to getting money, because that's really what he starts off getting, and then he gets personally invested in people's story. And I don't know if Henry Cavill is voicing him, but I definitely want to see this.
I was excited because I thought it was a live action one, like season 2, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready for it. But no, I'll definitely watch it. We were very much invested in the show, the live action show with Henry Cavill, and following that storyline. And so I am excited for season 2. But yeah, any kind of spinoff I'll watch and check it out.
How do you feel about them dropping the plot of this is all in the same, obviously the same universe, but the different timelines? So where they skip around, and then by the end of it, season 1, they showed you where everything tied in. To a lot of viewers, it was way too confusing. So for season 2, they said it's just going to be a linear story. How do you feel about them changing that?
Well, I assume that season 2 is going to be a linear story anyway, because now you've gotten to this point where they're all in the same place and you're going to move forward. I thought it was so cool when they jumped around, because the first 3 episodes, until you really figured out that's what they were doing, you're like, oh man, this is really confusing. But just to have that feeling of it slowly all coming together, you feel more invested because you're like, yeah, I'm the one figuring this out. Like, they're not leading me on this. I'm doing it. So I thought that was a really interesting tactic. It's great storytelling in the way that they did that versus just saying, oh, yep, here it's all just a straight line. But I never anticipated season 2 to be that way because, yeah, now we're all in the present, right? We went from the past and skipping around, and now we're all in the present. We just need to move forward.
I'm excited for what they end up doing with the new Witcher, but some good stuff coming on Netflix. And again, these are just the highlights. If you want the full list, head on over to Google and they have a full list of everything that's coming on Netflix. I believe next week we'll be doing the HBO Max editions. So tune in for those next week. Should be Scott that'll be on the podcast then. But otherwise, that does wrap it up for the news portion of today's episode. Now we head into the Brocap block, which is what Kelli and I have been doing this week. It's the portion where you get to know each of us a little bit better, the non-news stories. It's all the personal stuff. So let's jump right in.
I feel like I have more to cover than just the last week, but what's been going on with you this week?
Well, let's talk about you jumping in last minute today.
I did.
Very lucky that you have done this. To anyone that has just joined over the last couple of months, Kelli is the second longest running host to this podcast. She was the other host to the other side of this podcast here for many years. And then earlier this year had to step away due to work. But I was able to, thankfully, all of the my friends and people that have become friends through the show, and then people that I know through previous jobs, and you've heard it all from people from all the hosts that I've been on, but they've been on this rotation, which is amazing, to help fill in that co-host seat, and they've been helping with the hosting. And this week it was supposed to be Bobby, and I waited for a little while and no show, so we'll see what happens, and maybe an emergency or he forgot, and I figured it was bound to happen at some point when I have 8+ people that I'm trying to coordinate at some point every single week at different parts of the week, and it's never consistent. I knew at some point something like this was going to happen, and thankfully you were available to fill in. So this is why Kelli is here this week. Normally it would have been Bobby on the rotation this week. So that explains that, and thank you again,
of course,
for joining today. Yesterday I had the Great Depression shoes.
You did?
So I pulled out these older shoes that I bought that were work shoes that I didn't use hardly. I'm like, these are like brand new. How come I didn't use them? And I found out why, and I remembered why. The soles at the bottom were peeling off. They were coming off. And it's not that they were overused. They just didn't glue them well when they made them, or the glue wore off over time. I'm not too sure what happened. Maybe I left them in the car in the Florida sun, and it baked the glue, and I have no idea what happened, but I was wearing them, and the shoe sole came off, and I'm like, I should be taking this sole off and boiling it and eating it. Like, this is just all Great Depression shoes. Like, what is going on? So during my break, I ran over to Home Depot at work because I'm like, I can't do this. I can't just work like this. And I got Gorilla Glue, famously known for people putting it in their hair.
It's not for your hair.
Yeah, it is not. Don't do that.
Please don't.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to put on some gloves for this because I don't want to get my hand stuck on a shoe and become a shoe hand person for the rest of my life.
Shoe hand. There's Daniel's shoe hands.
And because I don't live in Canada, I can't be just going to the hospital and getting surgery to get it taken off. That shit would be too expensive. So I would just live with my shoe hand. And so I wore gloves. I glued my fucking soles on. The owner of the shop, he's like, don't I pay you enough for you to get shoes? Like, he came in and he saw. And,
did you say, no, I need a raise?
I should have. Oh, well. So that happened to me yesterday. And so far, I like Gorilla Glue. It's good stuff.
It's Gorilla Glue.
So
Great.
wear gloves when you use it. Be very careful with it. And
don't put it in your hair.
Nope, do not do that. But do use it to fix your shoes. And I'm not going to lie, there was a part of me that was a little nervous that maybe there was an effect of the glue that would seep through the sole and suddenly
get
my
in your
sock...
hair?
It's like, God damn it. It got through the fibers of my foot and it traveled up my body and came out in my scalp. Like, fuck, sir, you're not supposed to use this for your hair.
I did it. I used it on my shoe. Sure. Likely story, sir. Mr. Shoe Hands.
So, yeah, that's what happened this week. And also, you've been working out for months. I don't know if you've been on the show to talk about that.
I don't think so.
I started working out last week, and I told Julian that I was planning on doing that too. I'm doing a combo thing of Planet Fitness with my brother, who has one of those passes that you can bring someone else with. So it's a cool thing to go with my siblings, my sister as well, who's joining us, and do that together in the mornings and catch up on what's been going on in the week. So right now the plan is, and I'm hoping to stick to it, and I'm treating it the same way I would other parts of my life, like work or going to meetings and all of that stuff. So the plan is 3 times a week. And then if I can keep that up to then fit in your burning boot camp thing that you do once a week.
Burn boot camp.
Which is outside my budget, but I can at least buy per class is what you were saying. So if I can do that once a week at some point, that would set me at a good pace. And the only reason I'm able to do this, because everyone knows my time is like, it's insane, especially as being a parent, is I get up half an hour earlier in the morning to fit this in. And with Leo starting school, I would normally be either catching up on TV in the mornings or working on the show notes or whatever. So instead I'll be 3 times a week trying to fit in these workout routines, which isn't like hours on end. It's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But that if I do that 3 times a week, it's better than what I'm doing now, or what I was doing, which is nothing. So been going with that, got sore, been feeling that soreness. You've been explaining to me like you're going to feel sore for a couple of days, as if I've never worked out in my life, as if in junior and senior year of high school, I didn't just have workouts as my gym, weight training.
But senior high school and being in your 30s is 2 very different things.
I'm just saying it's the same amount of pain as I was in high school. And I understand that it's going to go away. And I understand that eventually my body will adjust. And I get all of these things.
And you knew that day 2 is the worst?
They're the same.
No.
Like, I know you told me they're the worst. They're the same. Day 1 and day 2.
All right.
So maybe I'll do like a progress photo, like a before and an after, a year later. We'll see what happens.
All right. But yes, I have been working out for almost 5 months now, 4 months. And I go 5 days a week if I can. So I try to go 5 days a week to my burn boot camp. You got to go to 1 class. What was your thought of your 1 class of my burn boot camp?
It's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. It is. It's heavy. It's mainly for women, though. Like, I noticed it's a lot of aerobics, but it is pretty intense. And but I can see why you'd like it.
I do really enjoy it, and there are some guys who go. There were like a lot of guys in the class that you went to, but yes,
2 others.
Mostly for women. So it's a high intensity interval training. HIIT is also what it's called, but it's a 45-minute class, and they take you through different stations, and you do usually like 45 minutes of work, 15 seconds of rest. Of course, you showed up for the class where it's like work the whole time and then hold it and then work again.
After not having worked out in years.
So I really enjoy it. The best part of it is childcare is included. So it's 45 minutes of just me, just myself. Leo has a great time because there's other kids and you know, they do different activities. It's not just great, sit in this room and let's watch your kid. They actually have activities planned out for the whole week on, okay, this day we're going to do this craft and this day we're going to color. And so that's something that I really enjoy. But for me, it's just a really great community. So all the moms are kind of in the same stage of life with little kids and trying to find time just for ourselves and rushing into the gym and then rushing home to make dinner. And so it's been really great for me. I've seen some really good progress so far. I've lost a little bit of weight. This is probably like the best shape shape I've ever been in my life. I can do like 3 full push-ups, which I never thought I would be able to do in my life. So that is what one of the things that I've introduced into my life. And I think I talked about it last time I was on the show, but really just finding little things for self-care, because as a mom and a wife, and that's something that's very hard for us.
For me, it's been taking it chunks at a time. Like I feel like I can't focus on all aspects to improve, and certain things do, but like right now, work is the toughest for me because of all of the different changes, all of the different fucking distributors. There's a lot of issues with shortages, with supplies not being available, customers frustrated, and things that systems not working like they're supposed to, and things that are viewed as errors on our parts. And I can't sit there and say, well, the system is, this program is, because they're not going to care. So it's just like, okay, yeah, I fucked up. Sure. So it's really frustrating. And that's been wearing down on me hard at work. So that's been my weakest point in life right now. And that's okay. That's all right. I could be struggling at finding a job, or I could be, there's all kinds of ways that I can view this, but that's been my toughest one right now. Thankfully, I have this outlet. I've got my podcast still, and we can all enjoy and share and interact, and it's an outlet for me at least, and hopefully it is for the other hosts as well. I do want them to take ownership of this as well, but I can only speak for myself, and that at least I have the time and ability to do this. So I try to look at those positives and continue on working on at least my personal life. I feel like that's where it's excelled the most compared to work. I could say that. So I think that's where I'll leave that part of it.
Yeah, it's tough. I think right now so many industries are still struggling. Product outages everywhere. So if you guys go out and somebody's out of something, it's probably not their fault. So I'm just throwing that out there. But I think over the last year, especially, you and I have really kind of turned our focus inward of, okay, here's our family, right? How do we support each other? How do we support our family? How do we support ourselves outside of work? Because for so many years, and I'm guilty of it too, work was very much my identity. And so yes, I'm still doing really great at work. I still enjoy my job. Are there challenges? For sure. But, working towards that next level, something I got to do last month was manage 2 stores, and that was a wild time. But learning what I can from that, but still understanding at the end of the day, I'm turning off and I'm going home. And, there's days you can't really do that, but a lot of days we do.
I did notice that I stopped responding to the Facebook Messenger on my days off or on my time off, and I've done less of that. And I don't know if that's just me trying to separate myself more from work, whether, I don't know, but I noticed that that's at least a boundary that I've set over the last couple of years, and that's an important one to do. Setting boundaries with people that, at the very start when I opened the store, they might have my personal Facebook or my text phone number or whatever. And then setting boundaries with them over the last year of okay, look, message me at the store, and when I get to it, I'll get to it, or email me here. And when I'm at work, I will look at it, and instead of worrying about, okay, I just got this request on text on my day off, let me go take care of it right now. So, right. And the thing is, people are, someone, well, you don't have to take care of it now, but I'll forget, or it'll bug me or whatever. It's just a lot of that when you manage whatever it may be.
For sure.
It's not just related to comic shops. It's any industry right now, and they're all it's tough. They're all struggling. The food industry, like you mentioned, retail all over the place. Every place is hiring, it seems, and it's a tough time for a lot of places. So I'm recognizing that.
So be kind when you go out is our soapbox of the day.
Did you want to give a Leo update while you're on here? It's been a little while.
Sure, it has been. So for those of you who have been longtime listeners, and even if you haven't, we have our adorable little Dito, little Leo, 3 years old now, and just so incredible, right? I couldn't ask for a better little boy, except he is very much in the terrible 3s. His new thing is, and I didn't tell you this story yet, but we were driving home and he was mad about, I picked up rice for his dinner, which he ended up not eating, but he wanted to eat the rice in the car. And I'm like, you can't eat the rice. We are 2 minutes from the house. we got your rice. We're going to go home and we'll eat it there. And he got so mad at me. So he's in his terrible threes and his little hands are on his little hips. And he's like, Mom, I'm going to tell you one more time. You have made me very sad. And everything was, I'm going to tell you one more time. Are you listening? And so I'm trying not to laugh because you can't encourage these things. So I call my dad and I'm like, Dad, I need to tell you what's going on right now. And he's behind me. My dad can hear it through the phone. And he's like, Mom, you're not listening. I'm going to say this one more time. So he has moments where he gets very opinionated and feels a lot of very strong emotions. And so trying to work through, okay, go into your room and work it off. And he comes back about 5 minutes later and apologizes and gives me a hug and says, I'm sorry for getting mad. And so teaching him that it's okay to feel those emotions, but you got to work through them and apologize and vent your frustration in other ways. But adorable, loves trains, loves dinosaurs, loves Batman. He was trying to climb on my shoulders today. And when I said, because I'm sore, Leo, I don't like that. He says, but I'm Batman, Mom. So, okay. Well, that doesn't make it okay.
No,
so
let's not.
I said, why don't you jump on the pillows? That's a better idea.
But he's Batman.
Okay.
There's no rebuttal to.
You're right. You're right. I'm sorry. I should have just let him be Batman. Like, screw my own comfort. So just wonderful. He's going back to school again in the fall and he's so excited and he loves hanging out with other kids and having that structure and being in a classroom setting and just absorbing all that he can.
So there is your Leo update for the long-time Brokettes, the old-school Brokettes. And I think that does wrap it up for this week's episode as well with the Broket Block. That about does it. I know you're not too active on Twitter. Did you want to share any kind of social media handles? Twitter? You can always tag her on Twitter at Palpakelly. At
Palpakelly, Kelly spelled with an I. I check Twitter occasionally. Do definitely need to use it more. I've said that for the entire time I've been on this show.
For years you've been saying that.
For years and years and years. But definitely, send me something, right? Tweet at me and I'll hit the heart. Is that what you're supposed to hit? The heart?
That's right. Yeah. And a retweet of the episode every now and again would be nice. But that's another thing I've been trying to do for years, which didn't work. But
but you're still here, so it must be okay.
I do want to remind everyone that if you head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com, click on merch. We've got a curated shop on TeePublic, and we've just added 3 new designs, and 2 of which Bobby suggested that we add on there, so they are on there. There's a Golden Girls design, and there's also a Prince, the Fresh Prince of all Saiyans, which is Vegeta as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So that design is also up on our TeePublic shop. You'll find the link at thereasonsimbroke.com.
Is this the part of the show where we start talking about Vegeta?
I guess so. He's got that new form where he loses his eyebrows.
Cool.
So now his forehead is even bigger.
Yeah.
It's basically Super Saiyan 3, like he loses, but without the long hair.
And without the eyebrows.
Well, Super Saiyan 3, they don't have the eyebrows. Yeah, they lose them.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I just skipped over 3 in my brain.
They're trying to figure out what color his aura is. So all the fan arts are purple and black is what they're trying to make it. So we've yet to find out. Some people hate the new form. Some people really like it. We're not even that far in the English manga, so eventually we'll get there. But I figured you'd probably already know this, that he's got a new form and it's Vegeta. So you're all caught up on it.
Well, I haven't been following Vegeta as much as I should. Like, I realized that he was happy and in love with Bulma, and that's all I needed. So
you're like, the end.
I can move on now.
But there you go, Broket Core. Thank you so much for joining us on sector number 468. I've been Daniel.
And I'm Palpakelly.
And Broket Core, all will be well. You know, it's been a tough one, and maybe I can find a way to, a politically, a PR response to this question.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I haven't, and I don't know if I choose not to, because I really don't like these movies. But I've had an influx of, you're a DC guy, Daniel. Are you going to go see the Suicide Squad? And I'm like, no. Like, oh, well, why not? Like, I can't support that. I can't support Gunn and the Hamadaverse and all that. If I know the subs really well, I'm like, it's pedo Gunn. Like, I can't do it. So it deflates them so much because they're like, Daniel likes DC. I can
we can
connect with him. Yes, exactly.
We can be friends now.
Or the Batman is the other one. Like, I know you love you like Batman. Are you excited for the Batman? I'm like, no. I want to see Batfleck, the Batfleck movie. That'd be great. But no, I'm not seeing the Batman. Like, I can't, there's no DC movie right now that I'm looking forward to that I can think of. Literally none. Unless they announce their Ayer cut or Justice League 2 and 3. But outside of that, if Hamada is still there, like, holy shit, like, I would say, like, the closest one that I'm like, I would see that is maybe Black Adam. And that one, I'm like, but I don't really want to see it, though, because it's a part of the... If DC or Warner Brothers would have just say, okay, we're restoring the Snyderverse, here's Justice League 2 and 3, we're sorry, Ray Fisher, and we're going to make right, and if we would
just do all these things,
then they'd make millions on these fucking shitty-ass movies that they're making now, because we'd be like, all right, we'll finally be there to support it. Jesus Christ.
That's all they have to do. That's all
they have to... It's the right thing to do, Kelly.
I'm not disagreeing with that. But you're saying like the farthest out there thing for them to do, and that's all they have to do.
Like the most I relate to now when people are like, are you excited for this, is Venom 2, Spider-Verse 2. Sony movies are the ones I'm excited for. Snake Eyes when that hits Voodoo.
How the tables have turned.
That's right. Isn't that weird?
I don't think there's a PR response for that, though. You just keep doing your thing.
All right. Well, now I feel okay about it.